Good evening, I'm John Carter and welcome to Poland Daily. 75 years ago, in response to the Warsaw Uprising in 1944, the Germans decided to exterminate as many residents of the Polish capital as they could. They showed no mercy, shooting at everyone, women, children and the elderly. 50,000 people lost their lives in the district of Wola alone. The citizens of Warsaw and state officials honoured the memory of all Poles murdered in the biggest slaughter of civilians during the Warsaw Uprising.
The tragic events which transpired at the Wola district between August 5th and August 7th, 1944 became the biggest single genocide on the Polish nation in history. At the same time, it was also probably the biggest single war crime committed on civilians during the Second World War in Europe.
To był wynik rozkazu Hitlera.
It was the result of the order of Hitler and Himmler to completely eradicate Warsaw. The Germans gathered special units when the uprising broke out. Many of the soldiers were untrained for combat, so they were sent to slaughter the unarmed civilian population.
Działów nie nadawała się do walki liniowej.
The citizens of Warsaw honored the 75th anniversary of these gruesome events. Traditionally, wreaths were laid in front of the monument of the heroic defenders of the so-called Michla Palace. Then the ceremonies commemorating the liberation of the concentration camp Gęsiówka took place at Danielewicza and the Kopowa crossing. The camp, liberated by the famous Zośka Scout Battalion of the Home Army, took the lives of around 20,000 people.
Chodziło o to,
we wanted to strike unexpectedly, not during the regular fighting. If it was a regular attack, a long one, more and more people could be killed inside. We managed to liberate the camp because we were willing to sacrifice anything to save the people inside, the people who were to be executed in a matter of days. The Germans didn't leave anything behind. They shot people so they couldn't tell anyone what happened.
Jednego z ujętych strażników Gęsiówki.
The German murderers responsible for the slaughter of the Wola citizens managed to escape punishment for their crimes. Nonetheless, they weren't able to erase the memory of their victims, who are honored every year by the Polish citizens.
Today, the leaders of left-wing political parties, Włodzimierz Czarzasty, Robert Biedron and Adrian Zandberg, announced their readiness to run for the upcoming Polish parliamentary elections as the leftist electoral committee from the lists of the Democratic Left Alliance and not as a coalition of three parties, which will make it easier for them to cross the electoral threshold. Meanwhile, MPs from the Cookies 15 movement will probably appear on the Polish People's Party's lists.
The Polish People's Party has decided not to run for elections with the Civic Coalition and announced that they're going to create the Polish Coalition. The talks about the MPs from the Cookies 15 movement running for elections from the Polish People's Party are still ongoing.
I'm not going to be part of the Polish People's Party. I'm using their list because I don't have the time or money to collect 130,000 signatures to create my own. This is what the electoral system looks like. If you wish to run for the same, you have to create 21 lists in 21 constituencies in Poland and put at least 10 people in each, so 210 people total. Collect 130,000 signatures and cross the electoral threshold, and then you have a chance to become an MP. But as I said, I don't have the time or money to do so. Besides, I did it once. I helped 41 people get into the same, but 3/4 of them turned out to be the supporters of the Law and Justice Party. So I prefer to run for the elections from the Polish People's Party's list and be sure that they believe in what I believe in, than to create my own list and have over 1,000 people when 900 can turn out to be bad.
During an interview with the Polish press agency, the deputy leader of the Cookies 15 movement, Jerzy Kozłowski, said that if the leader of the party, Paweł Kukiz, announced that their party will run for the elections from the Polish People's Party's lists, then he will have to leave the party. The MPs of the Civic Platform Party have not said that they won't join the Polish People's Party's lists.
Mówimy tutaj o jakichś resztkach czy niedobitkach.
As far as we know, the great majority of MPs are supporting the Law and Justice Party. They're waiting for a merciful gesture from its leader. Our partners are politicians of the Polish People's Party. We're not going to hold talks with politicians of the Cookies 15 movement, but the Polish People's Party.
Prezesa.
The president of Poland, Andrzej Duda, will probably announce the date of the Polish parliamentary elections tomorrow. Unofficially, the elections are due to take place on October 13th.
According to a survey conducted by Social Changes for the Wypolitycja.pl website, if the Polish parliamentary elections were held this Sunday, the United Right would win with a clear margin. The parliamentary elections will most likely take place on October the 13th.
47% of voters would vote for the Law and Justice Party and 25% for the Civic Platform Party. Other political parties that would cross the electoral threshold will be the Democratic Left Alliance with 6.2%, the Polish People's Party with 5.9%, and the Spring Party with 5.7%. The Cookies 15 movement, Freedom, the Modern Party, the RP Federation, and the National Movement would not cross the electoral threshold.
A statue of the communist general Zigmund Burling was toppled in Warsaw today. Burling was a Polish lieutenant colonel who was captured by the Soviets after the Soviet invasion of Poland in 1939 and later willingly served in the Red Army. Burling decided to remain in the Soviet Union as the 100,000-strong Polish Anders army, made up of former prisoners of the Gulag camps, evacuated itself from the Soviet Union to Iran in March 1942. He later became the commander of Polish troops under the Red Army and remains a highly controversial figure to this day.
Yesterday evening, the Warsaw Police Department were notified that the statue of Communist General Zygmunt Burling had been torn down. Adam Słomka, the leader of the Confederation of Independent Poland, revealed on social media that the statue had been destroyed. The totalitarian statue in Warsaw of the traitor Zygmunt Burling has been torn down by anti-communists from Relentless. Zygmunt Burling is a highly controversial figure in Polish history. His critics point to the fact that he cooperated with the Soviet secret police, the NKVD, and was of the opinion that Poland should become a republic of the Soviet Union. They also underline that Burling ordered many Polish deserters from the Red Army and members of the Polish military underground to death by firing squad. His proponents argue that he managed to save many Poles from Soviet Gulag camps by enlisting them in the Red Army.
More information has been revealed about Connor Betts, the perpetrator of the mass shooting in Dayton, Ohio, which claimed 9 lives. Betts' social media accounts show that the mass shooter was a communist and a supporter of the militant extreme left organisation Antifa. However, mainstream media channels have decided not to shine a light on his political convictions, whilst reporting extensively on the far-right ideology of the El Paso shooter who killed 20 people earlier that same day.
The mass shooter went under the name Flowers for Atomsk on Twitter and had more than 10,000 registered tweets on his account. In many of them he backed Antifa or expressed support through retweets for leftist extremists who had attacked US authorities. In one tweet he clearly stated that he considered 69-year-old anarchist Will Van Spronsen, who had attacked an ICE facility with firearms and incendiary devices, as a martyr, not a villain. The mass shooter also professed that he would vote for either Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren in the upcoming presidential election. Another recurring theme in the shooter's tweets was Satanism, often using the hashtag Hail Satan. So far, the shooter's political convictions have only gained attention on social media, with the mainstream media refraining from digging into the troubled young man's twisted mind.
Thank you very much for joining me here this evening at Poland Daily. I'm John Carter. Stay tuned after the break for Poland Daily weather. It's followed by the business, then the culture, history and finally the travel.